Hello everybody, my name is Rotary Salvatore, and today we are analyzing music, specifically this song Time Bomb by Faint and Boy in a Band. Quick side note, before you watch this video, you're probably going to want to listen to the song, so I put it in the description for you. First of all, in order to understand this video, you're going to have to understand what cadence is, so I'm going to do a quick review of it right now. This right here is what we call cadence. It's how we arrange lyrics into beats in order to make them work in our songs, right? Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 beats and 2 bars. This is where the term bars comes from. So each one of these horizontal lines is a bar, and each one of these vertical ones is a beat. We can place lyrics into these beats, arranging them in a way where they can either be a whole note, a half note, a quarter note, an eighth note, etc., etc. So right here we have a whole note, 1, and then we have 2 half notes making a beat 2, 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 more, right? Generally, when writing lyrics, you want to stack the cadence here. So as you can see, there's 2 half notes on the first bar, and it matches up in the second bar. And then, of course, you have rhyming schemes like 4 and more. You stack the rhyming schemes, so they're in the same relative position. So this would go 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 more. That's cadence. This is the cadence of verse 1 of Time Bomb. So, first of all, we can see that it is 7 bars. Now, that is unusual because it is an odd number. Odd numbers in cadence is typically something you don't want because it's hard to construct and make coherent, but you can make it work, which we do see in this piece. Another thing which I'd like you to notice is that there's 2 sections here delineated by this black line. So we have this first section on bars 1 through 4, and then bars 4 through 7 is our next section, starting with failing right here. In the first section, you can see that there are 3 rests stacked on top of each other. Now, I went through it in my head, and as it turns out, if you remove those 3 rests, then you can fit all of this in 6 bars, and it's completely fine. It works. But the creators specifically went with this 7-bar structure. I have no idea how they arrived there. I don't know why they did it, but it does seem to sound much better. The cadence of the first section matches up with itself on the first 3 bars almost perfectly, with the exception of Waitin' over here not matching up with Out of Time and Key to Find, though Out of Time and Key to Find do match up with each other, especially in the rhyming scheme. So we'll talk about the rhyming scheme later. So the first 3 bars have cadence stacked on top of each other, and then the 4th bar is unique because we get a transitional bar, which we will see in the chorus as well. I don't know if transitional bar is an official term or not, but that's what I'm calling it. Let's talk about the rhyming schemes for a bit. Here we can see the rhyming scheme, which is quite obvious: time and find, right? That one we are consciously aware of. But there's also the rhyming scheme of waitin', lookin', station, and frozen here, which I don't think we're consciously aware of, or at least not many people are. You might see station and frozen, but waitin' and lookin', I'm not sure. Same with clock and lock over here. On my first recording and run through of this video, I completely missed clock and lock, but there they are, and they match up in the cadence as well, so that's quite nifty. Let's move on to the second section, which has a really, really simple cadence which just anyone can write in, which is constant 4th notes. That's it, with of course a half note at the end here, which stacks up very, very nicely. Starts off with failing to understand how I can hear your mind. Now that there is rather important because it's what makes the rest of the cadence work. If you didn't have that in there, then you would have to include a rest somewhere around here that's just a quarter note, or you'd have to split future into 2 quarter notes instead of 2 eighth notes. Let's take a look at the rhyming scheme. Of course, we have mind, time, and mine. Those are conscious rhymes, but then we also have, let's see, failing and racing. So not much unconscious rhyming going on here, but it is still present in failing and erasing. One last thing I would like to note here is these little marks I have put on Frozen and Mine, okay? These little marks are to show pitch, so I drew a line here to show that this pitch is in the middle, and then this pitch is high, okay? Now, the middle pitch is important because this is our transitional bar, as I call it, and Mine here with this high pitch is a sustained note, which leads into the instrumental, sort of in the middle of the song, sort of in the midpoint between the start and the middle. That is verse 1, I think. This is a much shorter recording than last time, so that's good. Okay, this is the cadence of the chorus for the song, and immediately we can once again notice two distinct sections split up by a transitional bar, and then at the end we have a conclusion bar, which is used at the end of the song as well as the end of the middle of the song. So, again, with the bars, right? This is 6 bars long, not 7 bars. So this actually fits within a reasonable number of bars. It's even. It makes more sense. I bet you they could have done 7 bars. I might experiment around with 7 bars in the chorus later, but 6 bars seems to make sense here. Let's talk about the sections now. So as you can see, the cadence of both of these sections is essentially exactly the same, with the exception of maybe the Y here in 80 not totally matching up with the clocks in the right. However, essentially the cadence is exactly the same, and this is also a really simple cadence. Like, anybody can write this cadence and do well with it. And since there really isn't actually that much to talk about in here, let's just talk about the rhyming scheme. So of course we have listen, motion, listen, and function. So we have listen repeating twice in the same spot, and then motion and function, of course, rhyming. I bet you, like, motion and function are more conscious rhymes, while the 2 listens, maybe people wouldn't pick on that as often, but still very smart there. Often, technically, can be included in this, but I don't think that was intentional, because it's not repeated down here. Instead it says problem, and there's nothing else that rhymes with often in that section. Another thing I would like to note about these 2 sections, right, is the contextual patterns. So here we can see I've, and then I've again, and then I've again, and then I've is also over here, but it's more important that it matches up here, here, and here, because right here, in the intersection, this I've and this I've is you. So it changes from the first person perspective to the second person perspective, which I think is interesting, right? It shifts it over to whoever you is, which I guess would be the listener of the song, right? Now let's talk about the conclusion, because there's not really much going on with the transition bar. The conclusion, I feel, is pretty smart. And here's the reason why. First of all, it rhymes ahead with instead, so it sort of links these 2 bars here, which I think is nice. And also, it ends on a lower pitch. So as you can see here, the pitch, right, it starts low, and then it goes higher, and then it goes back down. It goes back down here. So this would correlate with the end of the pitch there. Drawing our attention back to the rests, we can see that the rest location here is, it starts at the end of the beats, and then starts at the start of the beats, right? Over the course of the verse and the chorus, right, the rest location slowly increases to go toward the end of the beat, and then goes back toward the start of the beat. And technically this is wrong now that I think about it. Should be more like that, because the verse and the chorus repeats twice. And of course that sort of bell curve pattern matches up with the pitch, which I think is pretty smart. I don't know if there's an actual intentional correlation there, or if that actually matters or not, but it exists, and I found it. Yeah, I found it like just as I was setting up for this recording, actually. So the first 3 recordings of this, I did not notice it, and now it's here. I see it. So what can we learn from Time Bomb? First of all, we noticed that there were a million patterns in there. Okay, we had patterns in the cadence primarily, in the rhyming too, that was important, and then less noticeably in the rests, in the context, and in the pitch. Now the pitch is more like an actual music composition thing, not a lyric composition thing, but I still want to include it in there because this is a thorough analysis of the lyrics, and the lyrics includes the notes in the pitch, of course. And secondly, the whole song could have been complete gibberish and had the same cadence and rhyming and rests. I guess the context would be removed, but it would still have the same pitch, and it would be a great song still. That, I think, is what I want you to take away from this video, is that you can write a song in complete gibberish and it can still sound amazing if you follow the rules, essentially, and use the patterns available to you. Thank you for watching. My name is Rotary Salvatore. I made this video mostly for myself. Leave a comment, I guess, if you want to. Hopefully, my next video essay will be out soon. Yeah. Quadruple smiley face.